Welcome into the Week 11 recap. And we're almost there. We got 3 more weeks of the fantasy regular season. Thanksgiving's coming up. We got a Black Friday game for the first time ever. So 4 games. You'll get 4 games, right? It's 3 games on Thanksgiving, right?
3 games on
Sunday night. Yeah. What is, in your opinion, the best side dish for Thanksgiving?
Stuffing.
Yeah, has to be, right?
Yeah.
What's the most overrated?
Cranberry sauce.
Yeah, I like it, but
yeah, I used to when I was younger, and then when I got older, I don't know, but a lot of people like it, so I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. If it's on my plate, I'm not gonna die, but
I just wonder what percentage of whatever the top cranberry sauce company is, what percentage of their sales is over the next 3-4 days. Like, it has to be pretty high, right? Or at least over the next month. It has to be over 50% of their sales.
Yeah, I would say, who in the hell's buying that stuff? You know, who's I don't buy it.
Outside of like Thanksgiving and maybe Christmas, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to mess with my background. I know we're recording, so pardon my background changing. My computer's dragging a little bit, so I'm just gonna go.
It adds a little excitement, but we're here to recap the Week 11 games. It was a good week of football. I think we've had about three good weeks of football games, and maybe not as exciting as last week's, where 6 games were determined by the last game-winning field goal. But we're just going to jump right into it with 6 games. We're going over the 12 Sunday games, and we'll start with one of the, I think, the lowest over-under I've ever seen going into the game. I think it got down to 32. Steelers at the Browns. The over-under got under 32. Got to 32, and they hit the under at 23, 13-10. Steelers side of things, the passing game is tough. It's Kenny Pickett, 106 yards. I think I heard over his last 4 games he's had 360 yards passing over 4 games. So CJ Stroud did that in 1 game. Jaylen Warren had a really good game. He had over 100 and almost 150 total yards with a touchdown, and that's about it. So you're not going to get much from the passing game. Najee Harris didn't do much. Dad, are you just benching all pass catchers on the Steelers? Deontay, George Pickens,
it's not working, so I don't know. You just look at the numbers and you go, so there was 26 carries in a rushing game. So that's 26 plays. So what's the normal in the NFL for plays in a game? 60 or 70?
Yeah, it's between 60 and 70.
And then he's Pickett's 15 for 28. It's like I don't know. It's like I don't know what's going on in Pittsburgh, man. They're sticking with that offensive coordinator. I know it's kind of late now. They're in the playoff hunt. Kenny Pickett's not he's not turning the ball over and stuff like that. But I mean, if Jaylen Warren hadn't busted off a 74-yard run, there's nothing here to even talk about. So
yeah, 100%, absolutely nothing. So yeah, I mean, it's nice that Warren did that. He's been playing well over the last couple of games, but his usage is not changing. He's still playing 45% of the snaps, which is good. But he's 9 carries yesterday. He's averaging 8 on the year. 3 targets yesterday. He's averaging 4 on the year. So he got the exact same usage. He just busted off that big one, which he's capable of course. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. He's like the only one really I would think about starting on this team as of now. So I heard another podcast. Yeah, it's sad, right?
74 yards.
Yeah.
They must not have even been close or something, you know?
Yeah. I heard on the CBS podcast that Tommy DeVito has more multi-passing touchdown games than Kenny Pickett does in his career. So, and Tommy DeVito's played 3 games or something. Kenny Pickett's he has to be close to 30 games, right, that he's played in his career. So, yeah, it's tough. On the Brown side, they started DTR. They actually threw the ball 43 times, which is a little surprising. He, looked like a rookie quarterback that maybe isn't the best at passing the ball, 165 yards. I mean, this is another one where are you just kind of benching all of these guys, Amari Cooper? Well, the biggest one's Amari Cooper. Are you just trying to avoid him while DTR is the quarterback for this team?
Yeah, the passing numbers were kind of okay, terrible. But the thing that concerns me, it's 3.8 yards per pass.
Mm-hmm.
And that's disgusting. Usually a low number is like 6 or something like that. And so I don't know. It's pretty scary. Not, like you said, not very good for the Cleveland wide receivers and tight end, the passing game in general. So, I mean, unless they're good at yards after catch or something. Elijah Moore had an okay game, 6 for 60, but if that's the best. I mean, so they won 13-10. They're 7-3. So if they think they can win, continue winning, good on Cleveland.
Yeah, they did sign Joe Flacco to the practice squad. Some people are saying it might have been to keep him away from Cincinnati as well, but we'll see if he's going to take over. He's not going to take over this week, but we'll see if he does later on. Njoku's a guy you can probably continue to start. 7 for 56 as the tight end's good. 15 targets for Njoku, which is insane.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
And the other game that DTR started, I think Njoku had a solid game too. So he's probably going to rely on the tight end there. But yeah, Amari Cooper 4 for 34. It's going to be tough to justify starting him. You're going to get games like this. You could get better games, but you're going to get a lot of games like this. So Jerome Ford, didn't do much except he got a touchdown. Kareem Hunt didn't do much. That's another backfield. It's going to be tough. They're splitting carries. Jerome Ford did get the goal line stuff, which is nice to see, and he plays on third down. So if they continue him as like the third down back and goal line back, then I think you can continue to start him. But if he loses one of those, it's going to be tough to start either one of these guys. But you're still going to start Jerome Ford as a low end RB2. We can move on from this game. It was, kind of a gross game for sure. So we'll move on to actually a pretty good game. The Cardinals and the Texans are a pretty exciting game, even though maybe you didn't think so going in. It was 21-17. Houston pulled it off. Kyler Murray, threw for 215 and a touchdown, ran another touchdown in, 51 yards rushing. So he's back to Kyler Murray numbers, giving you 11 points on the ground and then, gives you another 10, 15 points through the air. So he's going to continue to be a top-end starter, in my opinion. Are we worried about James Conner at all? That's 2 games in a row where he's only had he had 3 targets. But are you worried about James Conner at all? I mean, it was kind of all him, so maybe just kind of a bad game from him, but it's been 2 bad games since he's come back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you class it as bad games or maybe a mediocre game, or geez, we know more is there. So 14 carries, 62 yards. That's not terrible. It would have been nice to see a little bit more in the passing game, but running back play this year in the in fantasy in the NFL has been a little inconsistent. I mean, if that's the best you got, then my God, I'd rather have James Conner than Najee Harris right now. So,
yeah, it is important to note that Tony Jones, since Connor's been back, has played basically all the third down snaps. So that's not something, last year we saw Connor playing 90% of the snaps. 63 and 69 his two weeks since coming back from the injury. So yeah, we might be capped a little if he might be a touchdown or bust guy, but I'm still going to roll him out there one more week and just see what we get. But if we get another one of these where it's like 14 carries and not much in the passing game, we need 4 or 5 catches from him, or a touchdown. The passing game, what about Marquise Brown? We thought he was going to smash with Kyler coming back. That's kind of what he did last year with Kyler, but 2 catches, 18 yards. It's 2 bad games in a row. Are you worried about Marquise Brown or thinking about benching him now as well?
Yeah, you got to see something soon, to give you a little confidence. So, Marquise Brown, thumbs down. Trey McBride, little thumbs up, though, tight end, 5 for 43. I know I got off of Marquise Brown there, but Greg Jordan, is he a wide receiver or is he a tight end?
Yeah, he's a receiver, and he kind of came on last year. Yeah. He kind of came out of nowhere. Michael Wilson was out, and Zach Pascal, so I think that's why Dortch kind of got to play. But yeah, he played well. No one's going to start him. And Rondell Moore, you got a 48-yard touchdown catch, and then that was the only target he got. It's tough to see. It's like, how do you go away from a 50-yard touchdown catch and then you don't throw the guy the ball anymore? But yeah, it's going to be tough to start Marquise Brown with confidence. Trey McBride, you're still starting, but he's kind of he's not a must start that we thought he was going to be, Marquise Brown. So we'll have to kind of, like on this week, we have no buys because of Thanksgiving. So we're going to have to see what the options are. Basically, he might be benched in a lot of leagues. On the Texans side, Stroud's awesome. You should be starting him probably, unless you have one of the top 5 guys. 336 yards passing and a touchdown. Did have 3 interceptions, but that's the first time we've seen him throw multiple interceptions in a game, I'm pretty sure. Devin Singletary's been awesome again, 22 for 112 and a touchdown, 2 catches. Is he taking over this backfield, Dad? No more Dameon Pierce as an afterthought when he comes back, or do you think they're going to go back to splitting?
Geez, I hope not. Look what it's done for their running game. It's kind of rounded out their offense, the Houston offense. You got you got a good running game, got a good passing game. Why screw with it? So it'd be kind of weird, for Dameon Pierce to get much action in the backfield. When he comes back.
Yeah, I hope not too. And Devin Singletary, it's not just volume; he's averaging 5 yards a carry. So both last week and this week, he scored a touchdown as well. I don't know if I mentioned that. Tank Dell is awesome. 150 yards and a touchdown. Is he rest of season? Is he the top rookie wide receiver from this point on? So you're thinking, Zay Flowers, Addison, Puka. Obviously it's not Quentin Johnston. Is he JSN? Is Tank Dell the top one?
Yeah, seems that way. Texans are making it happen. It's not only, you look at their receiver numbers. I'm talking Houston. I know we were talking Tank Dell, but yes, on Tank Dell. What are we in, week 11, week 12 coming up? This is week 11 that we just did. So, there's a number of games left. So if it trends that way, but you look at Nico Collins, Robert Woods, they're all they're all involved. And Schultz had his numbers were a little low, but they're all involved in the passing game, so that's good that they, spread the ball around and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think Tank Dell is going to be the best rookie receiver the rest of this season. So, again, it's JSN, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, Addison. It's actually a pretty good wide receiver class. Mingo, Reed, Rashee Rice, pretty solid. But yeah, I think Tank Dell is the top there. So he's been on fire lately. And he's obviously CJ Stroud's main guy, and that was with Nico Collins there. So, like what we're seeing from the Texans, continue to start them as much as possible. We'll move on to the Titans at the Jags. Jags had a bit of a bounce back game here. Trevor Lawrence's best game. I think a lot of people maybe dropped him or benched him for sure, but he had 4 total touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing. ETN, now ETN's been struggling lately, Dad. 52 yards on the ground, only 3 catches for 7 yards. And I remember hearing just about his tough schedule after the bye. I believe it was just looking now. Looks like they were playing, Pitt, San Francisco, Tennessee are his last 3 games that he's played. And then moving on from there, Texans, Bengals, Browns, Ravens. Browns, Ravens, Bucks in the looks like in the fantasy playoffs. Those are pretty tough run defenses. Are you worried about him that his best season's behind him, or the best part of his season's behind him, or do you think he'll bounce back?
I think they'll keep on going with them, and looks like Tank Bigsby got 9 carries, but they still got to be using the running game. So whether the numbers are huge and all of that, it's kind of debatable. Maybe not. 14 for 52. That's not great, but he's a big part of their offense. So they'll continue feeding him. It's just a matter of so who was their next game?
Next game, they have an okay schedule coming up. Texans, Bengals, okay. And then for the fantasy playoffs, you get Ravens and Bucks, Panthers. Ravens and Bucks are two of the better. Ravens and Bucks are 2 of the better run defenses. Panthers are terrible. So. Yeah. But he's too good to bench. You can't bench him. So
no, of course, yeah. He's getting the carries too, touches.
Yeah, but it's a good example of potentially selling high on guys, looking at their future schedule. Like, again, if you looked at it and you saw, Steelers, Saints, Bucks, 49ers, Browns in the second half of the season, it's like, okay, maybe I can sell high, but we'll see how it goes there. Yeah, they didn't really play him much in the second half. The game was a little bit out of hand. Like, he played in 32 of 36 snaps in the first half. And then it looks like he just took 6 of 15 third quarter snaps and then 9 of 20 in the fourth. But the game was out of hand at that point. So maybe if they're playing in a little bit closer of a game, you'll have a better game script. Calvin Ridley. Is Zay Jones the key to Calvin Ridley? So I looked up in the 4 games that Zay Jones has played this year. Calvin Ridley's averaging 90 yards and almost a touchdown in those games. Is he the key, or is it just they're trying to get him involved more? They need to get him involved.
Yeah, that's kind of a different stat, but
I think it's more coincidence than anything, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm trying to think. What is the relationship there? And I don't know. I mean, you maybe got 3 yeah.
Go ahead.
3 decent wide receivers, a tight end, and you can't. It's kind of hard to say. Yeah, I don't know. Is this guy really taking all the coverage away from you to allow you to have a good game? But it's not. So it just kind of conflicts things now as fantasy managers, and you're going like, what the hell? Do I start this guy? He busted out. The answer is yeah. You got to continue to start him, and hopefully, just it works out for you.
Yep, agreed. But hopefully, it's a sign of things to come for Ridley. Christian Kirk, 3 for 48. Tough, but he's still getting 11 targets last week, 6 this week. It's going to be interesting to see with Zay Jones there if it affects Christian Kirk, because I remember that week 1 game, Christian Kirk, I believe he wasn't out there very much, and he was obviously not in 2 wide receiver sets. So I'm just kind of curious if we'll have to kind of watch if Kirk's not out there as much. Looks like he played in 76% of the snaps, but it was a blowout. So, that's kind of it for the Evan Ingram, bad game, but probably just going to keep rolling him out. On the Titans side, they're a pretty bad team. They only threw the ball 17 times. Are we worried about Derrick Henry now? That's, again, 2 bad games, 10 for 38 on the ground. It seems like in games where they're going to be losing, Henry's not going to do much. That's kind of what the splits show. Are you kind of worried about that for the rest of the year, or are you just going to ride it out?
Well, I would be, and I don't know. The run game in general wasn't very good. You think Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears, and they didn't even come. They barely came up with 52 yards. So they had one guy. I don't even know who Chris Moore is. 1 carry, 38 yards. But yeah, it's kind of it's not happening.
It's not. But I guess the one thing that's not exciting, but they get the Panthers and the Colts the next 2 weeks. That should be good for Henry. Then they get the Dolphins, not good, and then they get fantasy playoffs, Texans, Seahawks, Texans. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, Henry, in games that they're kind of out of it, doesn't do much. In games that they're winning or in it, he does well. So hopefully the next 2 weeks they'll kind of be at least close and they can do something. Will Levis looks good at times, 13 for 17, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hopkins got a touchdown, which you're excited about, but might be pretty limited with this offense overall, in my opinion. So we'll kind of move on to the Raiders and the Dolphins. Actually, a close game, 20-13. It was kind of that score, I feel like, until like the entire fourth quarter at least. Aiden O'Connell, he looks good at times. He threw 3 interceptions, but it looks like he has some arm talent, which if the processing part can get better, that he can maybe turn into a solid player. We'll see how it goes. Josh Jacobs, 14 for 39. Not good. Devontae Adams, 7 for 82 and a touchdown. What about Jacoby Myers, Dad? He was like a top 15 receiver the first 9 weeks of the year. Since Aiden O'Connell's taken over, he hasn't been very good. Is he kind of at the point of you're probably benching now?
Yeah, it's not. Definitely doesn't seem to be a very good situation. Seems like he's been irrelevant for about a month or so. Even I think Jimmy G obviously threw to him a little bit, but Devontae Adams got some action, but it's if you got Raider wide receivers, man, it's you're going to get some points, but you're not going to get the huge numbers. So
yeah, it feels like with Myers, you're going to need a touchdown. It's kind of a touchdown or bust player. So he hasn't had more than 5 targets in a game since October 22nd. So, yeah, and that's right around when Aiden O'Connell took over. So not looking good there for sure. I mean, you're still starting Devontae, and Josh Jacobs is going to get enough carries, but yeah, I'd probably be benching Myers at this point, which is unfortunate because he was so good the first month and a half of the season. So things changed, unfortunately. Dolphins side of things, Tua was okay. I mean, he was good for fantasy, 325 and 2 touchdowns. Devon Achane, if you started him coming back, well, he re-aggravated his knee injury. He had 1 carry. That's not good. He's probably going to miss more time. Yeah.
Probably
good for Mostert. Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't even see Jeff Wilson in here at all. So
he was inactive. Yeah. Well,
okay.
So they had Mostert, Ahmed, and Achane active, and both Achane and Ahmed got hurt. So it was just Mostert, which is why he had 22 carries. So I imagine if both those guys are out, you'll see Jeff Wilson. So he's a potential add, but yeah, I mean, it's good for Mostert. It sucks to see Achane hurt, but it's good for Mostert. He's going to continue to get a bunch of touches in a really good offense. It didn't really pan out today for fantasy, but you're still starting him if he's going to get 15 plus touches on the Dolphins offense. So what about Waddle? I mean, Tyreek Hill's awesome. Jalen Waddle now, like where are we at with him? Is he, again, no teams on bye this week? Is he a potential bench as well? Because you're looking at 1, 2, 3 of the last 4 games have kind of been a disappointment.
I'd say no. I'd say no, based upon he got 8 targets.
Yeah.
He caught 4 passes. I know his numbers haven't been great, but 8 targets, I mean, that's the second most on the team. So, I mean, and it's kind of it's a prolific passing team. It's I don't know, man. I can't see benching Waddle.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's tough too, and he's not absolutely killing you. Again, 4 for 55 in half PPR. It's like, okay, I'm still getting 8 points. It's not destroying my week. It's still giving me some things, but he has the capability of, 3 weeks against New England, 7 for 121 and a touchdown. He has that capability. So, yeah, I'm probably still starting him. I agree with you, but it is getting to the point of like, man, just want to see a little bit more. It's all going to Tyreek, unfortunately. But like you said, only 3 less targets than Hill. So, yeah. Anything else on this game? We'll move on.
Nah, nothing.
All right, we got probably a quick game here. The Cowboys Panthers. Cowboys just kind of dominated. Their defenses, what we expected. Just, I mean, again, Dak didn't have to do too much, but he still gave you 190 and 2 touchdowns. So, you're fine with that. Tony Pollard did get in the end zone, 12 carries, 61 yards and a touchdown, and 4 catches for 19 yards. So you're happy there. I don't think he's ever going to be, I mean, it's out. It's kind of out. Like, he's not going to be the stud that we thought, but hopefully he can still be a top 16 running back consistently, which is what he's been basically all year. CeeDee Lamb, again, it was just a case of like, they didn't have to do too much in this game. CeeDee Lamb caught a touchdown. Brandon Cooks not going to spend much time on the Cowboys because hopefully in games where they're going to have to actually play a little more, they're going to put up big numbers. Panthers, Dad, do you think there's any chance they fire Frank Reich after this year?
Yeah, I don't know. There's always a chance, and the owner's kind of got an itchy, I want to win now type guy, and it's kind of stupid. You got to let these things play out. And, I'm kind of surprised, the coaching staff they assembled, like Jim Caldwell, and I heard they had like Josh McCown as the quarterback coach. It's really kind of disappointing how it's all kind of, now they're swapping play callers every couple weeks and things like that. So I don't know, a little dysfunction. Frank Reich being fired. I don't know. You gotta let it play out. But it wouldn't shock me though.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me either. I mean, it's just, is Bryce Young really that bad? Like, I just have a feeling it's a little bit more of this, the play calling, and not a whole lot of there for weapons. In terms of the running backs, you can't really start either one. It was kind of looking like you can maybe start Chuba Hubbard, but Miles Sanders came back to basically it being a 50-50 split. And so because of that, you can't really start either one. They ran the ball well. I mean, over 100 yards rushing on 20 carries between those two. But if they're going to split the backfield, there's just roster them in case one of them gets injured, but you can't start either one. Adam Thielen, when Frank Reich gave up the play calling duties, Adam Thielen had like his 2 or 3 bad games. Frank Reich takes over and Adam Thielen's back. So maybe with Frank Reich back, it's Adam Thielen season once again, 8 for 74. But he's the only one on this entire team that I'm starting. So I mean, there's not really much to talk about besides that backfield. You just avoid it now. So we'll move on to the last game of this video, the Bears at the Lions. Good to see the Lions win in different ways. Maybe not so good to see them struggle with the Bears, but it's a divisional opponent. Justin Fields back. So, when's the last time they had the Lions down, 13 points, and they come back and win or whatever in the fourth quarter? Like, that's been a while, right?
Like 4.5 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's like, things are happening that usually don't happen. It's they usually win games like that. And Jared Goff threw 3 interceptions, and but he brought them back. They got so many weapons and different playmakers. They got the main guys. Obviously, the run game with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is important, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, but Laporta, Josh Reynolds, Jameson Williams, they all contributed big.
Yeah.
I know not every one of them is a fantasy giant, but
yeah. And honestly, it's nice to see Fields come back and look good. I mean, 16 for 23 passing for 170 yards and a touchdown, 100 yards on the ground. So, like, you're starting Fields for that rushing upside. And they should have won this game even with the Lions pulling back, but they had a bomb to Tyler Scott that should have caught. Maybe it was a little difficult of a catch, but he should have caught it, and that would have potentially iced the game, but didn't happen. Give the ball back to the Lions. But anyways, Fields, you're starting. If you were worried about this backfield, I think Deontay Foreman got hurt. He did score a touchdown, so if you started him, you got something. But it's once again Khalil Herbert's backfield, so you can potentially move forward with him. He had 32 snaps to Roschon's 25 to Dante Foreman's 18. And again, it looks like Foreman might be hurt, so it should be a 2-headed backfield with Khalil Herbert as the main guy. Just move on from Roschon. It's not happening this year, unfortunately. And DJ Moore is back to being a fantasy stud, 7 for 96 and a touchdown. So we survived. If you survived the Tyson Bagent starts, well, you're back to DJ Moore being a stud. No other receiver I want to really even roster. And Cole Kmet, I'm still probably going to roll with Cole Kmet. Only 3 for 20, but he's one of those low-end tight ends that's going to have good games, going to have bad games. And you just kind of roll with it. So, the Lions side, Goff had maybe his worst game as a Lion, potentially. 3 interceptions. A couple of them were really bad. Probably should have had 4. There was a pick 6 in the red zone that that Bears guy should have caught, but it doesn't really matter. These 2 running backs, Dad, are they just going to continue to put up these kind of numbers all year. They're just going to rely on the run game, both be top 15 guys like they were this week.
Yeah, I would totally say so. I know Gibbs's rushing totals weren't, if you're looking at a box score or something like that, you go 8 for 36, it's not great, but he caught 6 passes, and 59 yards. So his fantasy numbers were right on. Montgomery looked pretty good, 12 for 76. So, he's guys, if they stay healthy, you'll see him Thanksgiving Day, beating up on the Packers.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want from the split, I'm just going to double check here. But, this is exactly what you want. Montgomery getting majority of the carries, and Gibbs getting 6 catches, especially in this is a game they couldn't run the ball as much as they probably want to, because being down. So keep that in mind. You're probably in a normal game, which is a little closer, you're probably going to see 15 plus touches for Montgomery. He's going to be the goal line guy. He did, it was a little worrisome there. He had a really good fourth quarter. Before that, he wasn't looking very good, but then he was able to get over 100 yards and got that late touchdown, which was a little risky because he didn't have any timeouts, but there's still like 20 seconds. But I think Gibbs, he's played 60% of the snaps, Jahmyr Gibbs, each of the last 2 weeks with Montgomery back. So part of that is the game script, Montgomery coming back from an injury, but it's good to see. I mean, both of these guys you're starting. St. Brown, you're starting, obviously. And, Jameson Williams, good to see him get a touchdown, but don't know if he's going to be a reliable starter all year long. Just real quick, back to the Bears before we finish up. This is going to be one of the most interesting things in the offseason, I think, is what do they do with Justin Fields? Because he's looked good the last 3 games he's played, but they have the number 1 overall pick as of now, Panthers. So they have the Panthers pick. They also have the 4th overall pick. I do really think, like, if they have a top 2 pick in this draft, that they're going to draft one of these quarterbacks. So
yeah,
interesting to see there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the way I seen Justin Fields yesterday, and I just didn't see highlights. I watched the whole game, and I thought, man, this guy is looking really good. He missed a few passes. There needs to be some refinement in the passing game, I guess, and but the threat of him running and his okay passing, I thought, come on, Bears, you ought to be better than 3-8. I think,
Yeah. Yep. They should, but we'll wrap it up there, and we'll be back with the other 6 games in the next video. Like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys next time.